This is America's oldest soccer tournament. Built in small towns with big dreams. From local grounds to the biggest stages, part-timers and major leaguers chase the same thing. A cup that doesn't care about your club's payroll or what the pundits say. A cup that invites the chaos and carries a legacy. Under the lights, between the lines, it's one match at a time. To cement your name in history. This is the 111th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup.
The magic of the U.S. Open Cup is back, and the 111th edition of the tournament gets underway in Richmond, Virginia, where Richmond Kickers take on Northern Virginia FC in a Commonwealth clash. We welcome you here at City Stadium alongside Eric Dobransky. I'm Sam Goldfarb, thrilled to bring you all of the action in the capital city of Virginia. It is Richmond Kickers, the professional outfit out of USL League One, a squad that finished second from bottom a year ago, struggled in the last year's competition, fell in the first round for the first time ever, but they have won this tournament. They were the only fourth-tier side to do so in 1995. Their opposite numbers, an amateur side out of USL League Two, Northern Virginia FC, making their fifth U.S. Open Cup appearance and looking to advance for just the third time in their history. This is a squad that fell to this Richmond Kickers side the last time they advanced to the second round in 2022. It's time to get a look at our starting lineups, and Eric, for Richmond, a full strength side. Northern Virginia mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah, Sam, only one change for the Richmond Kickers from their season opener, with Panholzer getting that start on the right side. Josh Kirkland up top. His qualities and work rate will be looking to be that threat for the Kickers, anchored by Barnathan in midfield. They're going to look to set the tempo and the flow of this match early and often. And for Nova, it's a team that features a solid blend of experience and youth. Declan Quill, Gage Lyons will be dynamic along that left side. Then along the back line, you have the pairing of Gold and Clegg. Clegg has that USL Championship experience and versatility.
Well, that is your look at the lineups today. We will take a quick breather here from the River City when we return the first round in this USL 1 versus USL League 2 clash. Stick with us. We'll be right back from City Stadium.
Charlotte should be fantastic. Playing in Bank of America, it's a massive stadium, and
Charlotte's fans are always super loud and make it difficult as an opposing team.
So I think finally having them on our side and to be cheering for the team I'm going to be playing on is going to be amazing.
We'll see you on May 31st, Charlotte.
Cups inside, Rodman to the far corner. It's a special goal from Trinity Rodman. Macario goes to chip the keeper. It's sublime. Lamar from distance. Rolls the ball.
And we welcome you back to City Stadium, where we are just about set to get the 111th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup underway. It is Richmond Kickers and Northern Virginia FC, and we welcome you back to another edition of the nation's best cup competition. Sam Goldfarb, Eric Dobransky on hand here at City Stadium. And Eric, it's a Richmond side that's looking to build on a hard-fought point at Avialta against a squad that you mentioned has plenty of talent.
Yeah, and coming off of an Avialta match that saw them see very little possession, 6 shots, 1 on target, obviously the one being the goal from Josh Kirkland. So how do they come into this matchup? Are they going to be on the ball? Are they going to look to counter a bit more? Are you going to see Northern Virginia FC control the tempo and keep a lot of the possession? But that work rate up top from Josh Kirkland has got to be something for Northern Virginia to keep an eye on.
It is a Northern Virginia side that has blended college talent with proven experience. O'Neal Fisher, the former MLS veteran, starting at right back. Not to mention TJ Bush, someone who anchored Chattanooga Red Wolves for 2 years between the sticks. And then, of course, you can't mention this side without talking about João Gamiro, the former Richmond kicker who plays against his former club today.
Yeah, sometimes when you get these opening round matches, obviously you're getting a USL 2 side. They're used to playing over the summer, so you knew the roster construction and the makeup was going to be a bit different as we see an interesting ball played through the back. Well dealt with, though.
Filion navigates through the pressure well, and Murana looks long. Nodded away before it can reach Kirkland.
But for this Richmond Kickers side, you look at that roster right across from you, you go, wow, they've done well for themselves. I mean, I mentioned Tyler Clegg in the Open. I mean, he's a younger player, but USL Championship experience. You mentioned O'Neal Fisher, the MLS, the national team experience, Jamaica. They have a nice blend along their full roster, and let's see who can play on the front foot here early.
Filion looks long, and Kirkland holds it up well. And this is scored wide. Already an early chance for Owen O'Malley in Richmond. Space to cross. It's low towards Kirkland. Ricochets out of play for what should be the match's first corner. And that it is.
And that's probably our first glimpse of the way the Richmond Kickers are going to want to play. They're going to stretch Josh Kirkland, get him as high as possible, let him drop in, and then Tyler Freeman can work off of that run. You almost have that up, back, through kind of pattern where you can drop the ball to that next line and then let them play make. Earn an early corner.
We'll see what they can conjure here. In-swinging ball towards Barnathan at the back post. Murana running it down. Perhaps too tricky for his own good, but ultimately comes off fine. We all know about Richmond Kickers, one of the established brands in USL as well as the US Open Cup. A side that defeated El Paso Patriots on penalties in 1995 to capture the trophy. As we mentioned off the top, the only 4th tier side, they were then in the 4th tier, to win the US Open Cup. Since then, a few ups and downs here and there. Last year, some disappointment. First ever time they fell in the first round to Virginia Dream, so that will no doubt be on their minds as Panholzer roves forward here. And just out for a goal kick. Well, there's your first look at TJ Bush. 2 years with Chattanooga Red Wolves after a season in South Georgia as well. Former USL League One winner who faces off with a League One side after spending last season without a professional club. So, familiar character for League One fans. Here's Panholzer's cross. It's appetizing and down in the area. Referee waves play on. Well, Eric, already an early eyebrow raiser there.
And I was just about to mention that we talk about the roster construction for Northern Virginia FC. There's still the part of familiarity or lack thereof. So just because you have the experience and you have some different playing backgrounds doesn't mean that you instantly feel comfortable. And we've seen a number of times them trying to play out of the back it has not looked as probably smooth as they would like to, and obviously they know they're going to have moments where they're going to have the ball. You can knock it from side to side, but when you try to find that forward progressive ball, what does that look like? How narrow is the channel that you're playing into? How risky is it?
This is picked up in the center of the park, and immediately Barnathan wins it back. Someone who's been converted into more of a proper 6. Maybe room to break though here. This is O'Neal Fisher, the former Jamaican international. Back to Gold. It is a Nova side that qualified for this tournament by finishing atop the Chesapeake division in USL League 2 a year ago. Lost just one match in the regular season before reaching the Eastern Conference semifinals, and enjoyed a terrific campaign under Kareem Sheita, who once again guides them into the promised land of US Open Cup.
That's the element of being a USL 2 side. The success that you have winning your division, but then the historic quality of this tournament, the opportunity for these players to come back and play, regardless of they have that previous experience with Northern Virginia or not. Obviously, previous experience within USL 2, but you give players an opportunity to come back, even if it's just a one-off game, expose their qualities, their characteristics. You never know what you're showcasing in front of other teams. Also, to go up against a professional side.
This is loose, and TJ Bush just about knocks it away. More issues playing out of the back for Northern Virginia.
Yeah, that's about the third time that it's just looked uncomfortable for them, whether it's just getting used to the surface itself or their positioning in the way that they're playing out.
Well, for those just joining us, we welcome you into City Stadium, one of the historic venues in all of American football, home of the Richmond Kickers, and this is a lovely playing surface that serves as the backdrop for this opening fixture of this year's Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. No score between Richmond Kickers and Northern Virginia FC. A rematch from 2022's second round, as Kirkland has slipped in behind, and they're rather fortunate he didn't latch onto the end of that. Eric, it just seems the visitors look disorganized at the moment.
They do, and you can already see that line of confrontation from the Richmond Kickers kind of kick it up a notch. They kind of started the game at the half field, and now they're 15, 20 yards beyond it. You know they're able to jump on any sort of mispass, mistouch, miscommunication. Good spell here.
Gomero knocked it wide. And here's Declan Quill, the Virginia Tech product. Arcing cross towards Fisher. Panholzer navigates out of trouble. Well, for all of the early struggles, we have mentioned it. Plenty of experience, plenty of talent. We haven't even talked about Gage Lyons, their number 9, who was the Golden Boot winner in USL League 2 a year ago. Someone with 12 goals in 11 regular season matches. When you think about who he was tied with, Donovan Phillip, one of the best strikers in the country a year ago at NC State. It is pretty remarkable company he kept.
I mean, the class that you see throughout the US Open Cup and amongst a lot of these teams competing that have the USL 2 side in terms of the summer side, you've got a lot of those college players, a lot of those players that are trying to get their careers kind of going, and that's one of the sides to the professional teams playing the amateur sides. You're gonna get a 90-minute match regardless of if you score early, you take a lead into the break, because individually, yes, it's a collective match, but individually you're gonna get players like Gage Lyons, who is just beginning his search to kind of sustain a professional career. You're gonna get his best shot every single moment that ball goes in the attacking half, and he's got the qualities to be a threat.
Speaking of number 9s, here's Kirkland, a cross in. Just evades the reach of the on-rushing attacker in Tyler Freeman. for all the talk about Northern Virginia still gelling, for Richmond, that is certainly a concern as well. This is just their second match, a team that only brought back 6 starters from a year ago. And you mentioned them looking a little shaky at times against AV Alta. Of course, that a side that loves to boss the ball, but they were on the back foot for a significant share of that fixture on March 7th.
Yeah, possession numbers. Obviously, the metrics are, you take them with a grain of salt in terms of telling the full story, as we see foul here from Northern Virginia. We've seen Richmond be able to get, as we see Barnathan coming up on the wrong end of that tackle. But we've seen Richmond kickers, the ability to regain possession higher up the field. It's been a positive start for them, 11 minutes in.
This is a chance to test a Nova back line that has already looked disorganized for spells. Tyler Freeman, the 23-year-old, standing over it. Floats it towards the back post. It's headed along, but the offside flag was raised and the ball may have gone out of play anyways.
And you bring up a great point, because corners, well, any dead ball situation where you can get a dead ball restart, when you're a side that has gone through preseason, you've already gone through one regular season match, and you start to see kind of your regular season get into a flow and a rhythm. Those are the details that sometimes come to define matches. Set pieces, free kicks from those distances right there. Test the communication, test the mobility.
Here's Fisher. Played for 5 different MLS franchises throughout his career. Bush. Finally, some coordinated possession here for Northern Virginia. They're looking for the switch to Gomero, but it is right to Muji Murana. He certainly has big shoes to fill, filling the void of Simon Fitch, who was a regular starter for about 3 seasons with Richmond. It's a squad that overhauled a fair bit in the offseason, as we've already previously mentioned. Darren Sawatsky retooling his roster, the league's all-time leading goal scorer, and Emiliano Terzaghi no longer in the fold. He makes the move to Portland Hearts of Pine, so this is a squad that is still trying to identify its best 11, but on paper, they've thrown out a team that should be more than good enough to compete here. Doubt the sour taste of the Open Cup exit from a year ago on their minds. This is lovely through the middle. Engaged Lions chasing after it and tries for goal. It's a quality save there from Filion. And the first major chance breaks Northern Virginia's way.
That's so much that you hear from teams, that the rest defense. How are you set up? What does your structure look like when you're on the ball? That quick moment where you get turned over, where are you in proximity to where that ball gets played? And terrific outlet from Northern Virginia there.
Feels like those transition moments will be their best chance to get on the board today.
Yeah, 100%. Playing through the back, you're starting to see Richmond play higher and higher. Can you start to find some space between the lines? And to your point, those transition moments, as soon as you regain possession, can you break a line and go? But you got to connect that pass right there.
Penholzer. Well weighted. Freeman ushering it wide to Murana in plenty of space. Cross in front, and it nearly deflected into Bush's own net.
This is going to be the thing for Richmond kickers. They are finding a lot of success along this right side, getting to the byline, getting good services in. The numbers, the representation you're getting in the 18-yard boxes, we almost see that own goal knocked in from Tyler Clegg, but TJ Bush there, aware, is not necessarily how early can you take advantage of it, but can you take advantage of the momentum and therefore set the tone in which you want this game to be played out with, because only one change from the regular season opener. Obviously, the regular season opener was March 7th, so you had time in between, but you do have a regular season match coming up. You want to keep stacking those performances, and we all know how delicate the game of football can be. You can have chance after chance, but we just saw it with Gage Lions. I mean, you get in behind once, you split the center backs, and you tuck one away. This game has a brand new narrative.
It is important to know Richmond dealing with a thin squad because Neil Seufert, Darwin Espinal both not in the squad for the second consecutive match, and those are two surefire starters when healthy, especially Espinal. He was excellent a year ago as Panholzer chases after this and gets there. Well, fans, on May 31st, Charlotte, North Carolina welcomes the U.S. men's national team for the All-State Continental Classico against Senegal, the champions of Africa. Get your first look at the nation's biggest stars before they head to the FIFA World Cup this summer. The match kicks off at Bank of America Stadium at 5 p.m. Eastern. Tickets are available now at ussoccer.com/tickets. Sam Goldfarb, Eric Dobransky on hand to ring in U.S. Open Cup action this year. No score between Richmond Kickers and Northern Virginia FC in this USL League One versus USL League Two clash. Richmond on the front foot, but Northern Virginia showing some bite on the counter.
And that opportunity from Gage Lions just a moment ago from Northern Virginia. A little bit of a wake-up call for Richmond Kickers. Obviously, you see a lot of the ball in the opponent's half, and you get a moment like that, you just know that you got to stay tightened with the fine margins and the details in terms of that transition ball, making sure you're accounting for every player, and then if you can't account for every player, then you're making sure that you're taking up the appropriate space. A good corner for Richmond here.
Tyler Freeman slowly getting target practice here. Standout at Western Suburbs in New Zealand. Marks it in with in swing. It is inviting, but cleared away before it can reach Marana.
It almost looks like TJ Bush has a bit of sunshine in his eyes for the moment being. Probably change, so if you can move him from side to side, put some traffic around him. We've already seen kind of playing out of the back, this group has been a bit unsure.
It'll be Freeman again, this time from the near side. Fizzes to the back stick again. Headed along, Marana in the mix. It falls for Kirkland, who just tees it up into the convoy of bodies. Northern Virginia get it clear for now, but only as far as Hayden Anderson. And here he is again. To the byline, and we will run it right back. It's becoming a corner fest.
Yeah, and that moment from Northern Virginia against Josh Kirkland was important, and it was well disciplined, because sometimes when you see some of that second and third phase off a corner, kind of see this disbursement, you see this channel open up. Good block. Another corner for the Kickers.
Tyler Freeman still looking to calibrate. This appetizing towards Barnathan, headed back across, still loose. It's knocked out of play. Sean Vinberg mistimed it, and it goes out for a goal kick.
As this game wears on, let's see how Northern Virginia chooses to play out of the back. They've obviously committed to playing short and building through the thirds, and you could see that the Richmond Kickers are starting higher and higher, wanting to put more and more pressure. But to the point that you were making earlier, does that begin to see some of the lines get disconnected?
Barnathan. He'll lose out here, and this is an opportunity to break that is immediately cut out by Anderson. Now he roams forward. O'Malley outside of the boot cross. Doing everything right but putting it in the net.
Oh, that was clever from O'Malley. they're jumping passes and climbing the field. They're anticipating extremely well.
But on 20 minutes, still 0-0.
You see so much, and this is why you see cup set after, year after year, is that the longer that an amateur side stays at 0-0 with a professional side, you see some of the frustration set in. You see some of the kind of reinventing the wheel when it comes to getting into the final third, reconstructing what they're doing. But the way that this game is being played out, still at 0-0, Richmond Kickers have to feel good about where they stand because they're winning good possession. They're getting good movement. They're very collective with everything they're doing. So although they haven't scored, this is a sustainable system and a sustainable structure and rhythm.
And you had to figure there'd be questions about how they translate the game model from about 10 days ago to today. It's night and day. You play against a possession-based side like AV Alta, forced to throw numbers behind it, especially after grabbing an early lead. And in this fixture, it's the exact opposite. You're expected to chase it at home. Just about midway through the first half, and well, those possession numbers are somewhat surprising, but they don't necessarily show where the ball's been actually concentrated.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Northern Virginia possession has been through the middle third, the back line, whereas in Richmond Kickers has been right here in the attacking half.
O'Malley picks out Kirkland, who has runners in support. Kirkland's effort deflected. Northern Virginia just looking to clear through Kaloff. And set piece was conceded in the process.
And this will be a good look for the Richmond Kickers because their couple free kicks earlier have been deeper, 35, 40 yards out. This gives them, they've obviously had a number of corners, but this gives them a little bit of space between TJ Bush and his defenders. Now you put it in an area that asks a lot of different questions. Who's going to step? Who's going to go be the ball winner?
It's Freeman who stands over it, lofts it in towards goal, just beyond the reach of Bush, and he'll watch it fortunately sail wide. How about this?
Yeah, test the keeper early. You've seen it on the corners. You've seen it on the free kicks. You're getting a bit of variety from the Richmond Kickers. And why not when you're kind of getting those dead ball restarts at the clip that you are?
Tyler Freeman played in this competition a year ago with Ventura County Fusion in a first-round defeat against AV Alta. Someone who formerly played in the Sporting Kansas City youth ranks. This is his second start in as many matches with Richmond. Camiro gives it away. And a chance to break now for Richmond. O'Malley ricochets off him and rather tame in the end.
Yeah, going back to the possession numbers you were just talking about or touched on. Look at it, passes in the opposition half. I mean, Richmond Kickers almost have double what Northern Virginia have. Then passes in the final third, almost double there as well.
I just have to wonder how Northern Virginia can establish a foothold in this. Kareem Shaita definitely will have ideas in his mind at halftime on how this could have gone better, but I don't think he'll be complaining about where they sit, given how the run of plays transpired. Ponholzer giving chase to this. Has pace to burn as well, and is only maybe 1 to 2 footsteps behind Tyler Clegg. Chong looking to play out.
Ponholzer and Murana have been a handful along this right side for the Richmond Kickers. They've interchanged extremely well. Their work rate has been extremely high and effective.
Here is Murana again. Just underweights it for Freeman, excuse me. And this is Quill for Northern Virginia. Scintillating switch wide. There are numbers as well for Nova. A cross in, a quick turn, and just wide. A massive chance squandered by what appears to be the most likely man in the venue to take it.
Yeah, Gage Lyons is doing a fantastic job. Look at him just continue to read the space in the box, and then understanding that he's getting it on his back foot. He can pause, but you did see that later arriving run of Declan Quill.
On a different day, you would fancy Lyons to take that chance about 9 times out of 10. And he has had the 2 best opportunities of the match to date for Northern Virginia.
I mentioned for Richmond kickers, this momentum is sustainable. But as it does wear on, if Gage Lyons can create some chances like that, you saw the excitement. As soon as that ball got wide, collectively, they just climbed the field. You know, Declan Quill came in late. Maybe you get the pass off and drop it off to him and let him take from an upgraded angle, but there's belief in this Northern Virginia side when they do go forward, as now we see it coming together.
That's physical on that far side. It appeared Owen O'Malley was at the center of everything, which, for those who know about Richmond kickers football, especially on this young season, you know that he's in the mix for pretty much everything physical on that far side. Yellow card's been shown. I believe the Kickers fans summed it up best. They said, he's going to be the player that every opposing fan base dislikes, but we love him. High arcing ball in this set piece. It's not the finest of deliveries. It's Gamiro who is booked, so welcome back to the former Richmond kicker. Who now plays out of pressure, and Lyons is just behind that.
And with as much as we've mentioned that some of these free kicks are an opportunity for them to test the back line, they have not had that service that has put it directly on Northern Virginia to make a decision. They've elected to go farther past that far post, trying to redirect it back in, maybe get a little bit of movement, a little bit of confusion. But just as Northern Virginia has kind of changed the way that they've played out, they're back to playing through the back, but you see TJ Bush was going longer for a few of those goal kicks. Do you see Richmond start to change what they're doing on those free kicks? Obviously see something that they want to expose.
Outside of maybe that 1 second ball that fell to Kirkland, it's felt like not much is generated from those, especially given the high set piece count already.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Freeman lays it off for Panholzer. Panholzer trying from afar, and he never contacted it cleanly. TJ Bush can just watch it sail wide. Well, fans, one of the greatest rivalries in women's international soccer is coming to Seattle. The U.S. women's national team returns to Lumen Field for the first time in nearly a decade, facing Japan on Tuesday, April 14th. World Cup finals, Olympic thrillers, iconic moments. This rivalry has delivered it all, and now it's coming to the Pacific Northwest. Get tickets today at ussoccer.com/tickets. We welcome you into City Stadium for those just joining us in the River City of Richmond, Virginia. Sam Goldfarb, Eric Dobransky on hand to ring in another season of U.S. Open Cup football. And as things stand, Richmond on the front foot, but Nova more than holding their own on the break.
And what you get so much from these one-off matches, especially when you lack familiarity, you're playing a team. I know Richmond's played one regular season game, but you don't get a good look at each one of these teams. So everything's going to be done in real time, match management, and you're seeing Northern Virginia start to get themselves back into this game. They were playing short, building through the back early, had a couple careless turnovers, kind of some uncharacteristic balls played out of the back. They decided to go long for a couple goal kicks, and now they're back to playing short. So they're managing this match in terms of allowing themselves to get comfortable, allowing them to start build that cohesive nature that you need to take on a side like the Richmond Kickers.
It does feel like they've tightened up in possession as well. Richmond playing through here, though. That is a lovely ball, and Kirkland is in on goal. It's Josh Kirkland who opens the scoring for Richmond. In a blink, they cut through Northern Virginia like a knife through butter.
And this is a goal scorer's mindset right here, sitting in between the center backs, knowing that you can count on your teammates to look forward if you're putting yourself in that kind of position, and then the composure to tuck that away. You reward yourself with the simplicity of that run, but how clever it was, because you're sitting in a space where you have two players. Now you're asking them to make a decision. That was very well done from Josh Kirkland, and even better from his teammates to recognize that space. Terrific ball played in. What an opening goal.
Josh Kirkland, who scored 8 goals in all comps a season ago, one of the top goal scorers for Richmond Kickers in a breakout 2025, has scored for the second time in as many matches to open 2026. He's someone who's just a proven goal scorer that has really started to turn things up in competitive action over the last year. Former product at D3 Mary Washington University, and has established himself as one of the best forwards in USL League One.
Yeah, you see his goal against AV Alta in their opener. Kind of similar in regards to getting in behind. He can operate in front of a back line, so that's what makes him so difficult to account for. And I would also say the relationship that he and Tyler Freeman are building has got to be something that Darren Sawatsky is going to be pleased with.
Talking to Darren Sawatsky last season, he mentioned that at a certain point during the 2024 campaign, which Josh Kirkland spent primarily as a training player, not even signed to a full-time contract, he started to produce a ton in front of goal in training, and that seemed to signify that eventually it would translate to match play. So they signed him to a contract permanently at the end of 2024, and last season, sure enough, he hits the ground running. And you can say Darren Sawatsky is an oracle if you want, because he's certainly proven him right there. There's a sojourn forward immediately snuffed out from Northern Virginia.
That's a fantastic story, because that's so important for goal scorers. I mean, you talk about confidence, but it's on the player to be accountable for those moments in training. I mean, if you get 3 looks at goal in a whole training session, tuck them away, especially if they're upgraded looks. I mean, if they're half chances, okay, but tuck away the chances you have in training, and then that'll translate to an increased role and then another step in the role. Then you're finding yourself in moments like that Josh Kirkland has found, and credit to his work on the training field, and obviously the belief that Darren Sawatsky has had in him.
Well, if you're Northern Virginia now, how do you manage these moments right before halftime?
I do believe that they've done a decent job of kind of growing to the game. Now, obviously, that'll be a shock to the system, conceding kind of this close to half, especially as you were starting to grow into it. But can you get Gage Lyons on the ball maybe earlier in possession in that transition moment, because the decision-making is so high quality? And can you get some of those runs from Niblock off of it, Chong? I think Declan Quill has quietly got himself into a situation here where he can be a dangerous second or third attack.
Here's a quick turn from Lyons. It's laid off to João Camiro, the former Richmond kicker. Niblock toward Gamiro. It's cut out well by Leighton. Chance not lost yet, though. That flicked right across the face. And it just goes out of play before Juwon Chong can rescue it.
And that right there kind of sums up the attention that Gage Lyons is attracting right now. A lot of numbers, a lot of eyes in and around him. So does that open up some availability for Chong, for Quill?
Starting to see some signs of life from Northern Virginia, but now that they're trailing, maybe that actually opens things up for Richmond now if they have to overexpose themselves to try and chase this. Still plenty of time for Kareem Shaita to toe that balance. This is a squad that's used to winning. A year ago in USL League 2, one of the best division winners. Finished atop the Chesapeake division by 3 points. Fell to Lions Bridge in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Suffered just 2 defeats the entirety of USL League 2 play, regular season and postseason. So this is a squad that is used to finding ways to win games. It's a risky back pass to Bush. Takes it right in front of his goal. Josh Kirkland nearly dispossessed his former opponent, Chattanooga. Now Layton chasing this. Goes in, studs up, and wins the ball.
Yeah, the most important thing for Northern Virginia is keep this game at a 1-0 scoreline if you can't find the equalizer before the break. Obviously, that was a nervy moment. That ball played back to TJ Bush, and again, Josh Kirkland's legs just did not stop moving. This is timely tackle there. Important that you make it because you see Chong with that far side run. So you get in behind and be all sorts of problems. And that's something that Northern Virginia is going to look at and say, hey, we've got opportunities here. We've just got to execute. We've got to fine tune some of the details in the final third, whether it's the final pass, final action.
Well, important to note, in the midst of that interchange, Chris Niblock was booked for his reaction. Was displeased that the throw had been given to Richmond, and so he's the second Nova player now on that referee's watch list. Still have yet to see someone for Richmond be booked.
And we see it so much in the US Open Cup, emotions running high. So playing on a yellow card, being measured with tackles, and then obviously being measured with your emotional reaction afterwards, because the last thing you want to do is put your team in a situation where you're a player down, trying to get back in.
Freeman toward the byline, hooks in a cross, Panholzer back across the face, and somehow it's not 2. You would have fancied Kirkland to take that any day of the week.
And this all starts with the effort of Josh Kirkland, and then a good drive here from Freeman to the byline. Left-footed clip. Panholzer knows that his job is just to knock this across the face of goal, and as that ball was traveling, you just saw Josh Kirkland kind of sitting there waiting, and thought there was the ability for him to tuck it in. Seems like he just got his timing off, and this hits it over the crossbar, and for Northern Virginia, that's a sigh of relief.
Could have been tie over right then and there.
Yeah, because for Richmond kickers, not how quickly can you find a second, because that's not the game plan at all, but you do want to find that second goal, maybe take some of the air out of this game. As I mentioned it earlier, you're just going to continue to get these players' best shot.
O'Malley switches to Panholzer. A few footsteps in front of him. Well, not many of these Richmond Kickers players in the 11 were actually present for that cup set defeat against Virginia Dream last year, 3-1 defeat. But it might be a point of pride for the club, because prior to that, they had not suffered defeat in the first round of the US Open Cup. Getting the sense that they've come out here taking this fixture seriously, and now we're trying to kill it off before halftime.
Yeah, agreed. I think any player that plays in this tournament, history matters to them, whether it's the club history, organizational history, or just the history of the tournament.
Panholzer chasing after this, and may have been overzealous in his attempts to get that ball. Clip the heels of O'Neal Fisher.
As active and as kind of overloading if they've been on that right side for Richmond kickers with Panholzer and Morana, it has left them susceptible to some of these counterattacks from Northern Virginia, because it's left them unbalanced, because if Morana's up high, making it a numbers game along that left side for Northern Virginia, it leaves them the opportunity where Richmond kickers get overshifted. They start leaving some bigger gaps. So can you hit them in those moments? Anytime that you play a team that is overloading one side and that outside back is vacating so early, you want to be the team that punches them in that transition moment. Can you hit that space? Can you hit it quickly, get them overshifted, and then hit the other side?
Business end of this first half. Freeman flipped down on the edge of the area, and a free kick in a very inviting spot for the kickers now.
This is simply the stress of not wanting to concede a second goal. And I know that sounds silly because you've conceded a dangerous free kick at the top of the box, but it almost becomes that urgency that you have to win the ball in those 1v1 duels, where if you just take a look over your shoulder, you've got good support. You don't have a great angle for the opponent to shoot through, but you go in to try to make that challenge, and now putting TJ Bush in a situation where we probably have to make a good save here.
Two in the vicinity, one of them unsurprisingly Tyler Freeman, who's been at the center of every set piece today. It's arc goalward and right into the wall from Austin Amer. Bush can't rescue it from going out for a corner, but he's maybe fortunate that he couldn't. You think it's getting testy here?
Yeah, from the Northern Virginia side, I mean, obviously Richmond kickers have all the momentum right now with the free kicks up of the goal. But I also don't think that Northern Virginia has to be as frustrated as they're playing right now, because they're right in the thick of it. And if they find themselves a player down, I mean, that just takes so much out of what this game can be. Obviously just a yellow now. Now you've got 3 players on yellow cards.
It looks like it's Noah Gold, so one of your center backs as well.
Yeah.
It's fortunate that free kick, the corner hadn't been taken, because if it was taken when that foul occurred, we'd be talking about a penalty right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Confirmed it is Noah Gold who's in the book. So both Gold, Gomiro, and Niblock all on yellow cards for Northern Virginia. Freeman over this corner. This is inviting. Punched away by Bush. And they'll scramble it clear for now. Only as far as Leighton. Quill out wide, Niblock.
I do think if there's an area that the Richmond kickers go into the break wanting to identify where they can kind of benefit more from, it's the free kicks, corners, set pieces. I think there's something more for them to go after, but I will also say that give a lot of credit to Northern Virginia. They're making first contact a lot of the times, and when you make first contact, you give yourself a great opportunity to clear the line.
Inching towards the final minute of the initial 45. Narrow advantage for Richmond kickers, courtesy of Josh Kirkland, a routine finish in the 31st minute. Since then, they've been knocking on the door in hot pursuit of a second. Fisher for Northern Virginia. Chong. This one of the first extended spells of possession we've seen from Nova all night. Yuan Chong. Quill turns past Amer, runs right into the heart of defense, and that's marshaled well by Vinberg. Well, quick break on the field for Ramadan, and that gives us a chance to look back at the decisive moment in this fixture so far.
Yeah, clinical pass from Barnathan. Ball drops back. No question about where he was going and how he was getting there. Decisive ball played in, and then a decisive finish from Josh Kirkland, who has been a menace to this back line. Asking so many questions, and asking so many of those questions off the ball, the pressure, the work rate. And then you get him in a moment like this. He didn't even need to take a lot of touches to put that in the back of the net.
It gave the River City Red Army something to celebrate for the first time this season. One of the better support groups in all of USL League One, and they'll be back here on Saturday. They take on FC Naples in their home opener on March 21st before heading away from home in back-to-back matches. They'll be hoping they can add a third match into that mix, though, and have a second-round fixture around the end of March, start of April. But still plenty to see out before all is said and done. Just beyond the 45-minute mark, and all eyes on our fourth official to figure out how much longer we'll be playing in this first half. Sam Goldfarb, Eric Dobransky on hand. We thank you for opening up U.S. Open Cup play with us. First of many fixtures here this evening. 80 teams with one dream, and that is U.S. Open Cup glory. This is pinged towards Kirkland. Lions chasing after it. Gold. College of Charleston standout. Quill now turns wide. Hearing word it's just 2 minutes of added time, so we're right about at halftime, but before that, a free kick conceded by Nova. We'll see if there's time for one final foray forward. Camiro, fouled by his former teammate in Barnathan. Freeman. You can see Northern Virginia searching for something here late to end this half. They've had moments here in the first 45 that they've got to feel that they can build off of. Quill plays that wide, just beyond the reach of Niblock. The referee continues to wave play on for now. It's likely the final sojourn forward of the first half. You got to imagine that's going to be a bit of the talking point of some of the paces, some of the passes that they've played, whether it's through the back, through the midfield, and some of those wide areas. You have some nervy moments because of this being the first 45 of the tournament. Is this condensed space? Are you getting used to the surface? And then for the Richmond kickers into the break, I mentioned free kicks and set pieces, tightening up their rest defense. They're overloading some of the wide areas. Can you make sure that you're there for that first ball challenge and got good support behind you? Have had moments of gutsiness that has nearly backfired, but our halftime whistle has sounded for now. It is a narrow advantage for Richmond kickers at halftime, and Josh Kirkland making all the difference. Fantastic run from Josh Kirkland. He's done it all the first 45, testing this Northern Virginia side, making sure that they're fully aware of his presence, and we've seen what that's opened up on the layers below him through the midfield. We've seen some playmaking from Barnathan. We've been able to get him on the ball and see them kind of spray the ball out wide, but Northern Virginia has to feel pleased with some of their transition moments, how they've been able to hit Richmond kickers in some of those quality areas. We'll take a quick breather here from City Stadium at halftime. A narrow advantage for Richmond over Northern Virginia. 1 foot in the second round as things stand. We'll step aside.
I think for this group, our path to the final was one of resilience. This group has this belief in themselves and this idea that we've seen it all before in this tournament. We've gone through basically every scenario that you can, and there's just this belief that we're ready to roll with whatever comes our way.
You know, for people that is more kind of romantic on football, you know, I'm coming from a country where, you know, cup games are really, really special, and I feel the same kind of here. You know, a young club that is building towards a club that wants to be in finals, like I will be tomorrow. To have this opportunity is the one that, you know, you want to take.
Oh man, I think Nashville SC kind of represents the best of both worlds when it comes to a team playing with togetherness, some star players that are able to give you the ooh and ahs and the crowd reaction. But more than anything, I think this team represents a market that is new to the soccer landscape in this level in the country, but at the same time, I think a lot of people can identify with our style of play and the way that our guys go about their business collectively. And we have a good group of guys that's been together for a long time and are ready to take the step to put Nashville on the map in terms of hardware.
We're a club that wanted to pursue trophies, so January 10th when we got together, it was about, you know, chasing trophies. And then you start the actual tournament, and for us it was not an easy journey. Competitive games where we had to call on everybody, and I think that's what makes this final really special, is that we really truly had contributions from, you know, the top to the bottom of the roster, and different guys stepping up at different times. And for me, that's the beauty of the competition. It's what's earned our way into the final.
Welcome in to the 110th Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup Final, as one of these two sides, Austin FC and Nashville FC, will win their first trophy in club history. For Austin FC, their 5th season in Major League Soccer. For Nashville, their 6th, but a chance to make history tonight in this Cup Final. It will be dramatic. It will be tense from minute one. Nashville SC hoping to be the first professional sports team in Tennessee to win a major trophy. Austin hoping to be the first trophy winners in their club history. The atmosphere continues to build. What a night in Central Texas. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup Final is underway as Austin FC hosts Nashville SC.
For Austin, Wolf delivering and headed away. Chested down there from Schaffelberg, and Mukhtar! Off the bounce! Nashville getting the opening goal in the Cup Final! Entered towards Owen Wolf, controlling neatly and played it behind towards Uzuni, who gets there ahead of Schwake. It's a penalty! Here's Mita Uzuni, saved by Schwake! Austin's chance to equalize the game denied. Ilie just about keeping into Uzuni. Uzuni! There's your response. There's your goal. He missed a penalty earlier, but gets right back in the chances. And Austin right back in the Open Cup Final. Taxeth delivering the corner, and there's a man down in the area, and it's given us a penalty. And it's those two that were getting tangled before. Here's Surridge to give Nashville the lead again. It's down the middle, and Nashville back in front. And there it is from Tori Penso. Nashville SC have won the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, winning their first trophy in club history and the first major trophy in the history of Tennessee professional sports. What a reward for Sam Surridge and Hani Mukhtar and every member of this Nashville SC squad and staff. They celebrate Nashville on the 110th U.S. Open Cup champions.
Scored that goal. I think so. All right, let's roll the tape. Okay, Josh, we have some options. Was it A, Nils Stoifert, B, the Aussie Sam Layton, or C, Josh Kirkland? I'm going to say C. Josh thinks it was his fellow Josh, Josh Kirkland. Can we get a reveal? Oh, he got it right! Josh is sticking together. Congratulations, Josh from Midlothian. You have won 2 tickets to Saturday's regular season home opener. And thank you once again for playing Who Scored That Goal? Give it up for Josh from Midlothian.
Y'all having a good time.
The Kickers would like to welcome the following groups: Atlantic Union Bank, Defiant Food Group, Estes, Whiteford, Ucrops, and 22 Holdings. We would also like to wish a very happy Richmond Kickers birthday to Gloria Beth. Thank you for all your support this season, and go Kickers! And I'd also like to wish a very happy birthday to my daughter watching at home, Jenny. Happy birthday, Jenny! Fans, be sure to bring your group out to City Stadium. Pick from a variety of group experiences, including birthday parties, the K2 Awards Pitch of Dreams, national anthem performances, and more. All groups receive a shout-out on the video board and PA system, while select options come with a Kickers hat for every group member. Learn more by visiting Fan Services on the concourse level. And
And fans, new for 2026, try the Kickers Inn, our new collaboration beer with Triple Crossing. Available on draft at the Triple Crossing Bar and main concessions.
Just let me coach ya, show you about my culture. It's a late night show like Coke.
Welcome back to City Stadium, where at halftime, Richmond Kickers hold a 1-0 advantage over Northern Virginia FC in this first round U.S. Open Cup clash. Let's get a look at our first half highlights, and Josh Kirkland's 31st minute strike makes all the difference.
And the Richmond Kickers did a tremendous job of adjusting to this match. Obviously, Gage Lyons has been a handful in this first 45, and that's going to be something for the Richmond Kickers to adjust to, and how that includes his teammates in and around the box. But Richmond Kickers have been able to drive to the byline. They've been able to get good services in and terrific representation in the box. But Northern Virginia has kept kind of finding some of these wide areas and then deeper runs. But this ball from Barnathan was decisive, clinical, and then you get the finish from Josh Kirkland. Head up, understood where the goalkeeper was, kind of new picture of frame. Scores the first goal of the U.S. Open Cup.
Richmond continue to push on after that, and frankly, it's a miracle they don't have a second.
Yeah, the timing here for Josh Kirkland. He didn't do too much wrong in that first 45, but right there with that back post header. But shots for Northern Virginia, 4, but 3 of those 4 shots have been inside the 18-yard box. So that just shows you how far in the final third they are getting and how many numbers they're getting. So can they get Chong on the ball? Declan Quill is another name that you kind of look at throughout that first 45 that was impactful. For Richmond Kickers, only the 1 shot on target, so they're going to want to upgrade their efficiency when they hit the final third, but have to feel good about the overall flow of the match thus far.
We're just about set to get things underway for the second half. One change has taken place as well. That alteration has come in Northern Virginia. 2 out for Yuan Chong is one of the 2 to vacate. As we're back underway, Sam Goldfarb, Eric Dobrinsky on hand. Just about set to get things back underway. It is a question of whether Richmond can push on and double the lead, or will it be Northern Virginia grappling their way back into things? So we've heard it's a double change. We know Yuan Chong has exited. And it's Matthew Dean who's replaced him. So thank you for bearing with us there. So, quiet half for Juwan Chong. Matthew Dean, the listed center midfielder who just finished his sophomore season at Georgia Southern, is now into the mix. As Richmond races forward here, and this is Kirkland, the goal scorer, who is offside. Well, if you are Northern Virginia, what is the most likely means by which they can produce an equalizer?
Keep doing what they were doing towards the end of that first half. I thought they were asking the right questions. They were playing with the right tempo. They got their structure. You could definitely tell they felt more comfortable towards the latter end of that first 45. So take that comfort and play with that reckless abandon that this tournament incites, because you have no tomorrow. You have nothing to lose. So you're going to get a Northern Virginia side that can play, I don't want to say free because you don't want to concede the second, but you can be measured with some of the louder moments that you go after. And for Richmond kickers, it's that reminder that Northern Virginia has nothing to lose. This is not a regular season match. This is not a game where you're playing to advance.
Anderson is racing down this left-hand side. It is Hayden Anderson, still loose. They're trying to wrestle it over the line, and somehow they don't. TJ Bush using that long wingspan to keep it out.
And Richmond kickers are playing with that message that this is a matchup. Winner advances. They know that how vital that second goal is. A great drive there from Anderson. TJ Bush stays with that ball, luckily, because almost looked like it needed the slightest of pushes to cross the end line.
How has Tyler Freeman not wrestled that over the goal line? Niblock now fouled on this near side.
I thought Tyler Freeman was another player that looked good in the opener against AV Alta on the road. But his ability to work off of Josh Kirkland and them to complement each other has been really good to see for the Richmond kickers side.
There's the first touch of the half for Gage Lyons. He's someone that really impressed you in that first half.
Yeah, his movement, although it seems subtle, it does so much. It just triggers so much movement, so much space available.
Block floats it back into the mix. There's a man down in the area. They wave play on, a chance. Lions racing after it, and they just about wrestle it clear. Filione was required to jump into action, and he denied the substitute Dean from close range.
Filione was big against AV Alta, the 5 saves in the opener.
Now the other way. Kirkland chasing after it. Lays it off to Freeman. Will makes himself an obstacle. Jan Filione, excuse me, making the stop. Former Canadian Premier League standout.
He has not been asked to do a lot in this match. Obviously, we've seen him have to come off his line with a couple chances from Gage Lyons, but massive save there.
Now they switch the play. Barnathan back into the path of Panholzer. Floats to the byline. Headed away. Clearly as far as Amer. For those that are just joining us, we welcome you into City Stadium alongside Eric Dobransky, Sam Goldfarb, here as we bring you all of the action in this first round US Open Cup clash. The first match to kick off in the tournament proper this year in 2026. Lone goal so far scored by Richmond, courtesy of Josh Kirkland. But moments ago, Northern Virginia pushing on and nearly pulling their way back into it. So signs of life from the USL League 2 side. The question is if they can capitalize on that optimism and actually turn that into a goal.
Yeah, every time they've been in the final third, they have looked dangerous. And that's going to be something that they're going to want to build off of, but how can you sustain some of that movement getting into the final third? Get yourself on the ball. We see how aggressive and the Richmond kickers have become, and some of the pressing moments, those cues where they can go is unleash that shot from quite a distance off target.
It's audacious from Amer.
Yeah.
When the Kickers signed him in their announcement, they mentioned his long-range prowess. Maybe not the finest attempt of his from long range. Someone who most recently played in the lower leagues of German football with Nordhorn. Niblock, it's a clever touch. Gamiro.
You just see so much intent from Northern Virginia right now. They're showing the Richmond Kickers that they're going to have to close this game out.
They have a chance to do so here because Kirkland is racing in behind. Maybe needed to be more direct. Pokes it forward, Freeman. Ultimately, once promising break snuffed out. Switch towards Anderson. Offside flag is raised against presumably Freeman for intervening. Darren Sawatsky hoping to engineer another deep U.S. Open Cup run. Someone who has taken Richmond Kickers to the 4th round of the tournament in 2022. And during that run, they did topple Northern Virginia FC. It's the second meeting in the Cup between these two sides. It was a 1-0 scoreline 3 years ago. 4 years ago. Time flies, doesn't it? Since then, Northern Virginia's played once. They fell in come-from-behind fashion against Carolina Core in 2024. That was 2 years ago. This is an adventurous run forward. Finally cleared away.
It's the beauty of the U.S. Open Cup. You just see some of these opening round matches that either end up being contentious and tightly played, where it's 1-0, as you mentioned 4 years ago in their first match, and obviously we're at a 1-0 scoreline here. Or you see some of these loud scores where it just becomes this back and forth, box to box score fest, and that's what you get when you have the teams that are unfamiliar with each other. A lot of these rosters are constructed just for the tournament because a lot of the teams, whether you're UPSL side that's just getting their season started in the spring, or USL2 side, relies a lot on the summer and the college players that are still still playing with eligibility.
Two changes for Northern Virginia. Tilahun Hennock and Bernardo Mahano into the action. Ahmed Ismail, one of the two to vacate. Mahano is 32 years old, the former Maryland Bobcats standout. Features for Northern Virginia. Did play for them in 2022 during that U.S. Open Cup run. Well, Hennock Tilahun is also into the action. Just beyond Niblock. That was the end of João Gomiro's night. Certainly probably came in with a chip on his shoulder, but unable to make a decisive impact against his former club. Richmond still has yet to go into its reserves. Northern Virginia has gone 3 deep already. It's not the deepest of Richmond benches. We already mentioned the injuries to Espinal and Seufert. They expect Seufert back in the coming weeks, but Espinal appears to be a slightly longer-term concern. official timeline announced by the club for either. Well, on cue, Richmond is now readying a double change, and one of them is coming up front. Luca Dorado is getting set to replace Josh Kirkland. Niblock clips this forward. Engaged Lyons was offside. And then the other change will be like for like. It will be Johnson for Panholzer, but those have not taken place yet. And now they will. On cue, right?
And this is where players can come in. They've seen how this game has played out. They've seen the first 45, and now you've seen a clear look at the first 10 of the second half. And you know that these have got to be discussions at the break of, hey, this change is coming. You got 10 to 15. Take a look at it. You get a new picture of what the opponent's throwing at you. Obviously, you see some changes from Northern Virginia as well. So you're going to manage the ebbs and flows.
And one of those changes, the introduction of Luca Dorado, a 25-year-old who was a high-profile signing for Richmond on March 3rd, was exceptional on loan with their Henny Derby rivals, Ford Madison, a season ago. Now looking to translate that. This is Freeman on the edge of the area. Dances wide. Crosses it towards Dorado, and it's cut out just before it can reach him. You already see his presence making an impact.
Some of the last-ditch defending from Northern Virginia, some of those emergency moments have kept them in this game.
There's Landon Johnson, clipped cross toward Dorado. Block running it down.
And in no way am I saying they're giving up clear-cut chance after clear-cut chance, because they're not. They're really nullifying any of those bigger moments, other than the one with Anderson driving down that left side. They've taken a couple touches along the goal line, but besides that, they've denied anything in front of goal. How can they kind of grow from that defensive posture, that moment right there, and start translating that into some quality opportunity in the attacking third?
On the other end, you've started to see Jan Filion have to make some impacts defensively. Made a big save shortly after halftime to deny Dean the substitute. The longer this drags on, the more you wonder if Northern Virginia can just procure that equalizer. Doesn't seem to be as elusive as many would think.
You know, a lot of the times when you go in to the break, you're down 1-0, you feel like some of that momentum has shifted, grown into the match. You say, hey, let's go out first 20, 25 minutes, play the way we've been playing.
Mahano, well, that was audacious, wasn't it?
Yeah, you could see his teammates a little frustrated with, they felt like they had the structure, they had the distances there to keep the ball, create something, an upgrade.
Well, fans, the U.S. women's national team will conclude its 3-match series against Japan on Friday, April 17th in Commerce City, Colorado, featuring the last two She Believes Cup champions. This top 10 matchup takes place on a special Hello Kitty themed night at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Secure your tickets at ussoccer.com/tickets. Northern Virginia already winning it back and pushing forward. That is not the finest of crosses from Coliff.
Quickly finish the point on how you manage this last 45. At about the 70-75 minute mark, you just go out and try to find the equalizer. If this game still sits at 1-0, obviously you find it from the start of the second half, but in the principles of play and the values that you have within your team, but once you hit that final 10-15 minutes, just throw numbers. I mean, you can kind of restructure the formation, you can change the starting points, throw everything you have at the Richmond Kickers, make them have to deal with it.
get the sense, though, that they need to make better individual decisions around goal. I mean, the early cross that went wayward, not to mention the Mahano effort that seems speculative at best. I'm sure that Kareem Shaita is sitting on the touchline a little frustrated.
Well, and it's interesting, and you bring up a great point, because some of the uncertainty that we saw in the buildup in the first 45 from Northern Virginia, we've kind of seen that lend itself now into the final third.
Let's see if they can conjure anything here. It's curled towards goal, and, well, unfortunately, more of the same for Nova, although that may have taken a touch. And that it did, so corner on the way. There's a player down for Richmond. For a side already grappling with some early season injury concerns, that is far from a welcome sight.
You see that immediate signal for the training staff to come take a look. See this attack from Northern Virginia.
It's Barnathan.
Barnathan with the assist on the Josh Kirkland goal. Shifts into his own teammate.
Eric, he is a player that Darren Sawatsky raves about. Someone who's known for his versatility, played at VCU in the college ranks, not to mention played for FC Tucson back in the day when they were in USL League One. So he's someone with years of League One experience, and someone who also is versatile. He began his career as an out-and-out center back, and a couple years ago, they converted him into more of a 6, and we were raving about his positioning at halftime, his ability to read the game that is so evident whenever he touches a football pitch.
Yeah, his evolution as a footballer, the positioning is been terrific throughout this portion of his career. The way that he sits into spaces, the way that he identifies where and when he needs to occupy those areas, and you saw it on the goal, the assist. Just sat in that pocket, was able to pick up that ball, and the awareness to know that that threaded ball into Josh Kirkland is going to be a dangerous one, and unfortunately you see that they're having to sub Barnathan here.
This will be an interesting dilemma for Darren Sawatsky's men. Their best ball-winning midfielder likely forced off, and so there is a change for Richmond kickers, and it comes in the heart of midfield, unsurprisingly. It's Ali Sasenka who enters the action, a proper number 6, who also plays as more of a deep-lying midfielder, making his pro debut, the product of Sacramento State University, now featuring for Richmond for the first time.
Your attention, please. Public substitution in the 64th minute. Leading the match is number 2, Dakota Barnathan.
Certainly send our thoughts toward Dakota Barnathan, who's been a consummate professional for years for Richmond. It's Sasenka who replaces him, and already a corner to weather if you are the kickers.
One for Northern Virginia that they have to value. They've not seen a lot of these opportunities.
What can they conjure from this set piece? One of their first corners of the entire match.
Number 6, Ali Sasenka.
Sasenka in, Barnathan out. We await our referee signal to get things back underway. In swinger, it's low. Toward the edge of the area now. With room for Niblock to cross. Mahano curling it to the back post. It's away from O'Malley. And now Dorado chasing after it. All in all, they defended that pretty well. Well, interesting development here. Double change is being prepared. for Northern Virginia. One of the two to vacate is presumably going to be a substitute, Bernardo Mahano. That's what we're hearing. Just came on about 10 minutes ago, and well, now that's being changed. So it's not Mahano who exits. It will instead be Declan Quill. Jean-Philippe Ayonbong, as well as further change for Northern Virginia. Be Omar Ismail. Niblock.
It was a quieter second half for Declan Quill. And we'll also add, you just had an increased impact from Chris Niblock. So kind of that balance of where and how you're attacking the Richmond Kickers. But besides that save from Filione, they've not got that clear look at goal.
There's Johnson. It's an errant pass that's broken up briefly by Niblock. Anderson. Filione, not the businessman between the sticks, but passing the major test that mattered earlier this half.
And you know in games like this, it's going to have to happen. You know your goalkeeper is going to have to make a save or an intervention. TJ Bush has been called into action a lot more, and I would dare to say the activity along the goal line to start this second half has been some of the biggest interventions that he's been asked to be a part of thus far. He's made a couple of key saves as well, but if this game goes to 2-0, changes the complete storyline of how this game gets played out.
Right now, Niblock just can't beat his defender in O'Malley. Dorado. Hearing word that Ayonbong as well as Ismail will enter. Noah Gold, one of the two who will vacate, so they're about to take off their second of 3 players on a yellow card. This is given away cheaply, though. Maybe a chance. Arced forward towards Ayonbong, the substitute. Dean down in the area. The referee says the ball was won cleanly.
I mean, the referee has a clear look at this. Good tackle there from Northern Virginia to start this play. That is awfully close.
Was the substitute Sasanka involved with everything. And now a yellow card shown towards the visiting bench for their reaction.
And you knew that was going to elicit a response like that from Northern Virginia's coaching staff.
That will be a moment that lives in controversy come the end of the night. Northern Virginia render it irrelevant. High arcing cross. It's away from Anderson, only as far as Dean, who was at the center of that interchange. Now he's dispossessed. Ticking towards the final 20. Still 1-0 to Richmond, courtesy of Josh Kirkland's 31st minute opener. But a major penalty shot waved away moments ago involving the substitute in Matthew Dean. Northern Virginia enjoying its best spell of the match to date, but there's a player down.
O'Neal Fisher going down there after the pass had gone away.
.34 years old, a veteran fullback who's played at the highest level at MLS. Someone who retired retired from professional football following the conclusion of the 2023 USL Championship season, but has featured for Nova in the past in US Open Cup play 2 years ago. We've spoken about his pedigree, Eric, a former second-round MLS Super Draft pick that played 95 times in MLS. He's their most experienced and highest profile player.
And we talked about Barnathan's evolution as a player. O'Neal Fisher, same thing. You're always going to get a player that values the 1v1 duel, takes his responsibilities out in that wide space very seriously, very difficult to break down and get around. And we've seen Richmond kickers have to do it with numbers. Tried to create a number of 2v1s. They've kind of unbalanced it. O'Malley and Anderson have been the two that have stayed tight along that back line, stayed compact. O'Malley doing a lot of the down pressing, and then the other side has been free to climb forward, create those numerical advantages, and kind of combine their way into the final third. O'Neal Fisher has been asked to do a lot defensively.
They've suffered for large spells out of possession tonight. Definitely takes a toll on the entire back line. Ismail plays it backwards. This is the major inflection point of the fixture. Sam Goldfarb, Eric Dobransky on hand in City Stadium in Richmond, Virginia. The first match of the 2026 Lamar Hunt US Open Cup in the first round. And it's still Josh Kirkland who separates the two sides on 31 minutes. Since then, Northern Virginia's had half chances, but nothing decisive yet. Hoping to change that here. There's a tussle for it, and another man down in the area, but that a far more speculative penalty shot than the one we saw moments ago.
Yeah, this is going to become the question, is how do the Richmond kickers deal with the uptick in energy and urgency? Good ball through.
They're looking for Dorado, who nearly got there. Bush is off his line to clean it up.
This looked like he held up his run for a moment.
Niblock. Still waiting for him to truly influence the match. Dean. Niblock again. High Point standout who was exceptional as a sophomore this past fall. Dean. Bong.
Especially as this game wears on, the more touches, if you're Northern Virginia, that you can get inside the 18-yard box. Push the Richmond kickers into possibly going through the back. Little touch foul. I mean, we've obviously seen a couple tight ones there in the corner of the 18. So the ambition from the Richmond kickers defensively is already present. Throw numbers in there, clip a ball in. Make sure that you're in the proximity where you can get physically shoulder to shoulder into some matchups there and make them make a play.
It's a quick turn from Gold. Squirted wide. Niblock darting onto his left. Headed to the edge of the area. It takes a deflection and just sails wide. It looked like they had Filion beaten.
Yeah, from this angle, it looked bound for goal. Niblock continued to ask questions and taken on the volley and the slightest deflection, and it needed that deflection, it looked like.
Sam Layton to the rescue for Richmond. In swinging corner now. It's headed on and just wide. And the entire run of play has completely shifted here in the second half.
Well, I think you're going to get two elements of the human nature where you have a team in Richmond kickers that you're trying to see out a 1-0 advantage. So you're naturally going to gravitate to get behind the ball. You're going to gravitate towards being more cautious than maybe progressive and proactive when the game was at 0-0 or it was at 1-0 and you still have plenty of time. And then for Northern Virginia, you get the complete opposite. You get that reckless abandon where you're saying, hey, go forward. If we concede a second, it is what it is, because there is no tomorrow if we drop this game anyways.
We approach the dying embers of this, and it's certainly turning into a fascinating finish. Lambong. Amer with a strong challenge, and Johnson runs it down. Freeman. Dorado. On the turn, he's bundled over just outside the area, and this is an inviting spot for a set piece.
And you know they will, but for Richmond kickers, take your time, make sure you get this set. Make sure that you're getting a clear look on goal. And this is where the advantages are in your favor, because you've gone through preseason, you've gone through a lot of these setups, these free kicks, how you want to execute them. I don't know if so much of the talk has been how do you execute them when you're up 1-0. And again, that's the piece for the US Open Cup, is you add a midweek game in where it's a one-off match. Some of those match management things that don't present themselves in a regular season kind of come available.
It's Freeman who takes it. It's right at Bush. Maybe not the finest of execution there.
Yeah, but you could see how tentative Richmond was, because typically you might see teams throw numbers, at least traffic in and around TJ Bush. But it was pretty much on Tyler Freeman to create the danger. Just not hit with enough pace. Definitely got it up and over the wall and on target, but nothing that was overly difficult to deal with from TJ Bush's standpoint. As this game wears into the 10-minute mark, Northern Virginia, don't rush anything. Obviously, you're going to play with urgency and purpose, but you just need one good look.
Dorado strolling forward for Richmond. Tried to open his hips up, and that was not the finest of finishes. Lacked the quality he displayed with Madison towards the end of last year. Route 1 now from Northern Virginia. Lambong. Opting to go at it alone. Dorado laying it back off, and Freeman over the top. Return ball doesn't quite reach him. You see the new dimension added with Dorado being inserted up top.
And you can also see Northern Virginia testing Sasenka in that secondary action, and he's done well thus far. But when you have a player like Barnathan in there and now has had to come off, you want to make sure that that midfield line is climbing. You're putting yourself in positive areas to get back on the ball.
Inching towards the final 10 minutes. It's a squad in Northern Virginia that's completed just over 2-hour journey to Richmond from Leesburg. They play at Segra Field, the same home pitch as Loudoun United in USL Championship. Richmond readying one final change. Appears Owen O'Malley will be vacating. He will be replaced by Beckett Howell, and that signifies a defensive-minded shift. Howell's an out-and-out fullback. Anderson likely will move up into that wing role. He's more than capable of doing that. There's a free kick against Richmond now.
And now, as much as you would love to score a second goal for Richmond Kickers. It's all about seeing this game out. I mean, regardless, you're up 1-0, you advance if this scoreline holds. So you see the changes coming now.
Owen O'Malley, a strong shift defensively in particular. He's replaced by the 20-year-old Beckett Howell, who joined from Richmond United, became the second player ever on a USL Academy contract to sign a multi-year deal with the Richmond Kickers first team last year. Fisher heads this forward. Niblock splits two defenders, arcs it in. Morano away. Dorado chasing after it. And continuing his run, and he may be through on goal now. Luca Dorado strolling towards goal, and it was not the finest of efforts. Required far more venom.
He was so clever with the run-up here. Pulled the defender out of position, then climbed higher up in the field, but just scuffs this ball at the end, puts it on his left foot. Does not get the contact needed. And credit to TJ Bush, because I think some of that confusion came from that movement and the positioning from TJ Bush.
Dorado still waits on his first Richmond goal. He's getting in behind with regularity, though. You get the feeling that Richmond may be playing with fire here.
You do, and you're inviting a lot of numbers inside the 18-yard box, especially when you hit the defensive third. It seems like Richmond is retreating into their own box very early in the possession here. So now any sort of contact, handball, tackle, you put into question. You've done so much work to get to the 83rd minute up 1-0.
It's out for a corner, and that's unforced as well. More chances to apply pressure on Jan Filion's goal. Chris Niblock has quietly gotten target practice from this exact spot all half. In swing. That's too tight on Filion's goal.
Yeah, it's been a complete role reversal from the first half to the second half. We saw a lot of corners, a lot of deep free kicks from Richmond Kickers in that opening 45. But it also just showcases how the trajectory of this match has changed as it's kind of played itself out. Seen Northern Virginia have to be front-footed, have to be kind of collective in their effort to create a dangerous opportunity. They've taken a handle of how many corners they've had here in the second 45. Just not been able to test Filion.
Time running out on Northern Virginia. More than hanging around at this stage. As we mentioned, it's a Richmond side that has only failed to progress out of the first round once, and that came last year against Virginia Dream. They defeated this Northern Virginia side 4 years ago in the second round as part of a run to the fourth round. That the best U.S. Open Cup showing under Darren Sawatsky, and is now 7 seasons at the helm of this kicker squad.
That's exactly what you need, is a drive, except you don't need the take from distance. Drive at Richmond Kickers, move them defensively. That kind of goes back to some of the individual decision making that we talked about earlier. And I will say that does go hand in hand with some of the unfamiliarity you have as a team.
This is towards Niblock, who flashes it across, and now it appears it ran out of play. Back to your point, Eric.
Yeah, because when you can get to that byline, when you get to some of those wide areas, when you have that time to practice, that you know where your teammates want to be, how they want to attack space. Right now, you kind of see some hopeful takes from distance that are just not coming off. You've seen a couple go well wide of frame, blocked. Those are the moments where you just need to be composed, play that extra pass.
For all the possession Northern Virginia's had in the second half, feels like north of 60%, at least in the half. They've yet to truly trouble the opposing goalkeeper, as that was rather fortunate from Nova. Took a weird hop off Dorado's boot. We haven't seen Filion rushed into action too much, with the exception of that one scramble around the hour mark.
Yeah, 11 shots, only 2 on target. 6 of the total, 6 of the 11 shots are inside the 18-yard box. So again, highlighting what we were just talking about, some of those final decisions, those final actions.
Tillahan away. Looking for Niblock. Can't keep it in play. Well inside the final 5 minutes. Will it be Richmond reaching the second round by the skin of its teeth? Will it be Northern Virginia springing a late surprise on their hosts? Freeman charging ahead, looking for the run of Beckett Howell. That ball didn't have enough weight on it.
Yeah, just to continue to harp on the nature of this match and how it's shifted. As it stands right now, passes in opposition half. This is just the second half. 105 passes for Northern Virginia, 49 for Richmond Kickers. Just kind of tells you where the majority of this 45 has lived.
Oddly reminiscent of their second half at Avialta, trying to protect a draw away from home. But I think Richmond fans will find this a little less acceptable than the Avialta display. I don't think they'll complain if they concede out, though.
You just have to manage so many different angles here. You're trying to close out and advance in such a historic tournament, but you also have to look at, you play again in a couple of days. Good ball in.
Dorado's onside. It has a runner with him. Dorado past one, tries for goal, and it ricochets in. There's the touch of quality from the Golden Boy up top. 2-0 Richmond.
He has been knocking on the door with how crafty he's been off the ball, the timing of his runs. We saw him miss one just a few moments ago. This one, 1v1, recognizes the spacing behind, takes that subtle touch and just smashes this off the bottom portion of the crossbar. A first goal for Luca Dorado for the Richmond Kickers.
He has opened his account in Richmond colors after spending last season on loan with their sworn nemesis, Forward Madison. He's paid off any negatives he caused them a year ago by sending them to the second round of the U.S. Open Cup.
Well, we've seen him in a couple of moments here in the second half where he's gotten a bit crossed up with what kind of finish he wanted. He's tried to curl one far post. He's just got a bit of the shape wrong. He scuffed the one a few moments ago. But that one, decisive, just a thunderous strike.
Into the final minute of the 90. Luca Dorado, after scoring 8 goals this season ago for Madison, on loan from Birmingham Legion. Someone who's been a proven goal scorer wherever he's gone. 4-time All-Sun Belt selection at UCF. He's now carried over that goal-scoring pedigree to Richmond. And it appears they've put the Demons of a year ago, being eliminated for the first time in the first round, on the back burner, as Mujim Murana was clattered down on the far side. It's 5 minutes of added time that separate us from Richmond advancing.
The fourth official has indicated there will be a minimum of 5 minutes of stoppage time in the second half. 5 minutes of stoppage time.
And obviously, if you're the Richmond Kickers, you would have loved not to suffer as much as you have in this second half with nursing that 1-0 advantage, but you also have to like kind of some of the options that have become available throughout this match and kind of what you've seen from Darren Sawatzky's group, managing and navigating some of the challenges that were presented. And it's all about the flexibility and the adaptation that you can present in real time as a collective. And for the Richmond Kickers, they answered everything that kind of came up today. They obviously, Filione made the massive save that he had to make that kept it at 1-0. And then Richmond Kickers kept believing in what they were doing defensively and that they could still find that dangerous outlet going forward, and you saw it with Luca Dorado.
Matthew Dean was booked moments ago for Northern Virginia, a frustration challenge on Marana. If you're just joining us, Luca Dorado has eliminated any semblance of doubt with an 89th minute strike that ricocheted off the underside of the crossbar. He's compounded the lead that Josh Kirkland gave them in the late stages of the first. And Richmond in line to topple Northern Virginia for the second time in 4 years, and well, now it's all popping off. And this is just unnecessary at this stage. I think you might see a red card brandished in a matter of moments.
Yeah, you can only imagine that the officials are going to get together because, as you mentioned a moment ago, just unnecessary. End of the match. Obviously, we saw some of the tensions run high earlier in this match. And Northern Virginia seemed to kind of weather that storm. They picked up some early yellow cards. 3 players were playing on them early, and then now we saw obviously the Matthew Dean yellow.
Likely some of it has to be frustration on the Northern Virginia side. Played really well in the second half, and unfortunately for them, undone on the break. Regardless of how the actions have transpired on the pitch, that does not warrant that sort of interchange between these two squads. It's not what this tournament's about.
No, not at all. And obviously Northern Virginia taking exception to the tackle along that sideline.
Well, now a red card has been shown, and it's towards the Northern Virginia bench. Remember, there was a yellow card shown to Kareem Shaita midway through the second half. It appears the bulk of the Northern Virginia coaching staff is receiving marching orders. The backup goalkeeper for Northern Virginia has been involved in that. Huber Latona, he's been sent off. Hasn't played a minute today, but has been given an Open Cup red card. Kareem Shaita was also in the midst of all that, getting word on whether or not he's also been sent for an early shower at the moment. And it appears Kareem Shaita is being let off the pitch, so Northern Virginia will play these final moments without their head coach.
A yellow card caution has been issued to Richmond number 26 for G. Moran.
Final minute of the added 5. Get the sense we'll be going beyond those 5 minutes, though. That's hoofed in from Bush. Now launched forward. So, confirmation, Kareem Shaita has been sent off, as has the backup goalkeeper for Northern Virginia, Huber Latona. A yellow card has been shown to Muji Murana, who is at the center of everything there on the far side. Freeman. Looking long, and at this point, Richmond is just looking to run the clock out. It's a squad in U.S. Open Cup appearance number 26, one that has hit the heights of winning the trophy in 1995. And they're on their way to securing their first Open Cup victory since 2024. The full-time whistle sounds. It is Richmond Kickers advancing once again in the U.S. Open Cup. They open their 2026 campaign on a high note with a 2-0 victory over Northern Virginia.
Yeah, an overall complete performance from Darren Sawatzky's group. Richmond Kickers You know that there's going to be moments throughout a match that you're just not going to see the ball. You're not going to have moments where you're controlling momentum. But they managed it. They managed to keep their structure. They were ball winners in the moments you needed to be. And the 2 goals came off quick breaks. 1-2 passes in, and they were off and running. They were collective in their approach, and they were collective in their execution.
Strong performance from Richmond Kickers. Goals on either side of halftime making all the difference. It was a fast start for the Kickers, but Nova more than held their own.
Yeah, it was Gage Lyons, a number of opportunities. We saw a little less of him in the second half, and you expected Richmond Kickers to kind of isolate, bottle him up in the second half, but this was kind of the storyline of the first half for Richmond Kickers, getting to that byline, getting good numbers in and around the box, and then you have this ball played back to Barnathan. The awareness and the decisiveness on that ball played in, and Josh Kirkland was an absolute menace throughout his time on the field, getting into tackles, never stopping, moving his feet. He was just always in this area. This was a little bit of a surprise that he missed this wide open far post, just gets the timing all wrong. And then this is the chance in the second half. Quick little layoff, and then good save from Filione. Keeps it at 1-0. And that was what Richmond Kickers needed, was that big moment, because besides that, that was a big deflection. But they see this out with the Luca Dorado goal right here, 1v1, and then just an absolute cracker that hits the bottom of the crossbar.
Terrific finish from Dorado to wrap up the victory, and this is your look at the full-time stats. Richmond, more shots on goal, but a possession edge for their visitors here today.
Yeah, for Northern Virginia, a terrific fight. I mean, I think they asked a lot of different questions of Richmond Kickers, and ones that they'll feel good about, but they just lacked that execution in the final third. You see the 11 shots, but only 2 of them on target, so when space was limited, they lacked some of that final action, and Richmond Kickers saw this game out.
Richmond, the touch of decisiveness required to secure the victory and advance once again in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. They open their 2026 campaign on a high note with a 2-0 victory over Northern Virginia. For our terrific crew and my broadcast partner, Eric Dobransky, I'm Sam Goldfarb saying so long from Richmond, where the Kickers advance to round 2 of the Open Cup. It finishes Richmond 2, Northern Virginia 0. Have a great rest of your night, everyone.